So once our SQL script matches the final ERD as far as the primary keys are concerned, what we're going to do, I'm going to first describe it and then we're going to do it. We're going to save that SQL script as number two and rename it adding relationships, and we'll review each and one of them one by one over this and the next slide. So I'm going to do this first here, looking at each of the relationships. So if you switch a couple of slides back, and a corresponding child entity one next to the crow's foot becomes a foreign key in that table, next to which the crow foot resides. And there's going to be plenty of those here, 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 and everywhere in a reading table, as we indicated before. Okay, so if the minimum cardinality on the parent side is 1, the foreign key cannot be null. So let's remember this particular rule, right? So if the minimum cardinality on the parent side is 1, okay, we have to force the foreign key to have a value. Okay, so customer number is both primary and foreign key is the commercial and residential child tables, as we already mentioned. And the next slide sort of crams together all the remaining one-to-m relationships between several tables, rate set and rate, customer and meter, meter and reading, employee and reading, and then finally the bill including reading. Right. So rate set contains rate and has some of the comments here, regarding the weak entity and the fact that the rate set number in the rate table is primary key together with min usage. We already sort of talked about that, but it's also a foreign key that's pointing to the rate set table, right? So it has sort of a dual use. Then for the customer uses meter, meter read by reading, and employee performs a reading, okay, these foreign keys, cost number, meter number, employee number, cannot be null, okay, because because the parent table has a minimum cardinality of 1, as pointed out on a previous slide over here. Okay, and finally you have the bill includes reading, where the bill number becomes foreign key in a reading table. Okay, that can be null. Okay, at least in this example. Okay, so let's switch to our script and save it as. Okay, pops up in an unfortunate folder. We got our class folder 06 underscore develop DM and lectures, in my case slides and videos, and I'm going to add number 2 and then adding relationships. Okay, then I'm going to again position myself as best as I can next to the final ERD, okay, and switch back to Notepad and look at that final ERD on my other monitor. Hopefully you can do something similar as well. So because of this, relationships are sort of all over the place, it's not going to be as easy to go sort of linearly through this, but I'll try sort of as best as I can, and start by scrolling all the way to the top and examining the relationship between the customer, okay, and the rate set table over here. Again, it bears switching to the ERD, okay. So the customer gets a rate set assigned to it or him or her, okay. So the rate set, okay, the minimum cardinality is 1, so the rate set is mandatory, okay, for the customer. And we know the customer is not mandatory for a rate set because rates are set way before they're assigned to customers. So what that means is that, and again, the crow's foot is next to the customer, which is going to then get the rate set number as an additional column representing the foreign key that it cannot be null. So we're going to switch over here. We're going to click after the primary key declaration in customer table, type a comma, and then constraint FK rate set cost. So I'm combining. I can't just say customer because there will be more foreign keys. There's going to be a relationship between the customer and the meter. Okay, So right now I have to sort of combine both table names in it more or less. So FK rate set cost, okay, foreign key, okay, rate set number, okay, which of course I have to add here, rate set number, oops, integer. As I said, they're all integer and not null. I'm using these tabs sort of indiscriminately. References, I should say, rate set table, and it's rate set number primary key. Okay, so that's the foreign key that cannot be null. Right, it has the name that's a little weird. References, that's the same foreign key here. References rate set table down below, okay, right here, okay, and its rate set number as a primary key. Okay, so that's only the first of many foreign keys needed in this relatively complex water utility database. Next, we're going to handle the commercial and residential child or subtype tables of the customer or supertype or parent table relatively briefly. Okay, we've already mentioned on the slide a few minutes ago that the customer number is both a primary and a foreign key. Okay, and the names are FK Cust Commercial or constraint FK Cust COMM or something like that, foreign key, okay, Cust NO, references customer table, and Cust number its primary key. And then I can use this line and copy paste it after inserting the comma over here. This is resid or something. Referencing the same table. Okay. Next, what do we got next? We got a rate set table. Let's switch briefly on the left side of the ERD. Rate set table and contains relationship with rate. That's the identifying relationship with a rate is a weak entity. Okay, so in that case, okay, and because the child or crow's foot child rate is the child table as well with a crow's foot symbol right here, we need to insert the rate set number into the rate table, okay, and then declare it as a foreign key as well in the code. All right, so it's already in there because it had to be, because it was part of the compound primary key. So all I have to do is specify constraint FK rate set rate table as opposed to rate set customer table I had before. Foreign key, so it's again rate set number that references rate set table and its rate set number primary key. Okay, and again, what we have to do here is we have to pay attention to the parents table, which is the rate set that has a minimum cardinality of 1. Okay, so that rate set number over there, it cannot be null, but we don't really have to specify that explicitly here because being a part of the primary key is automatically has to have a value, otherwise it's immediately a violation of the primary key. Okay, so then we're going to continue back to the relationships and talk about the customer uses meters. Okay, where the meter is a child table with the crow's foot right next to it. So the meter needs to receive a customer number, cust NO, foreign key, okay, pointing to that customer table. And because a customer is required in this relationship, okay, that foreign key cust number cannot have null values. So switching to the code, okay, we go into the meter table, okay, right here after meter model, and insert cust NO, that is the integer not null foreign key. And after the constraint for the primary key of the meter table, we have constraint fk customer foreign key. Okay, it's obviously cust number. That's this one right here. All right, that references customer table, and it's cust number primary key at the very top of this script. Okay, what's there? What's there left now? Before we move to the reading table, as I pointed out in a previous recording, reading table, a reading entity, is at the sort of confluence of several relationships, right? The the meter is read by reading, which is essentially read by an employee who performs those reading, and those readings have to be included on the bills for all the purposes we've emphasized a million times. So before we move to this multitude of foreign keys in the reading table, we'll take a break.